All right, so welcome, Chris. Chris
Thank
Bundy,
you.
you run USMAC, and you're part of the rocket space community.
Yes.
A big part of it, and I really love what you guys are doing, and I've tried to help out on a couple of your events, working with companies from Belgium and Algeria. That's the ones I've been to.
Oh,
Just a week or so ago with the Algerians.
Exactly.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, USMAC, obviously, the being part of the community here at Rocket Space, and then maybe tell a story or two.
Tell a story or two. So I'm with USMAC, which stands for U.S. Market Access Center, and we're a fairly unique acceleration program in that we focus on helping non-U.S. technology companies make that jump from sort of being in their local market to their global market.
Yep.
And we work all over the world. We've worked, I think, now in 20 different countries in the last 2 years. We were pleased to run a program in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Commerce and the U.S. Embassy in Algiers for a group of Algerian companies earlier this month. And it's been an incredible journey for us. That one of the things that has become really apparent is that talent lives everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, everybody thinks about Silicon Valley as being sort of like, oh, well, this is where it happens. Well, it happens here. It happens in a pretty unique way here. But that spirit of entrepreneurship and that spirit of innovation is alive just, all over the world. And I look at Duncan's plans to expand over to London and other kinds of things is everywhere we go. I'm just stunned by how smart the people are. What's missing is, quite frankly, they're missing the programs and they're missing the ecosystems to support and enable them to sort of reach the potential that they're looking for. So what we try to do is sort of inject a big dose of sort of Silicon Valley know-how, Silicon Valley people, not to replicate Silicon Valley, but to take the lessons that have been learned here in the last 60 years and then figure out how do we apply them in those local environments. How do you make it sort of applicable to Algeria? How do you make it applicable to Vietnam? How do you make it applicable to, fill in the blank?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been a fun journey.
It's interesting that you said that. I almost, in some ways, sometimes think that entrepreneurship here is a bit jaded, because it's like, oh, $1 billion exit. Oh, I raised money from so and so. Oh, my investors are these guys. When I travel in the Middle East, I meet, like you said, people who are much more educated than me, speak better English than I do, have really great ideas, and are hungry, passionate, and motivated. And yes, it's about building a company, but it's not about a $1 billion exit or this investor. It's about livelihood and innovate, like just changing the world, and maybe the world means for them and their family. But I wholeheartedly agree with that. And so the spirit of entrepreneurship, I think the epicenter is here, but the fresh blood or the next generation, I think, is coming from other places just as much. So.
Yeah, I think sometimes the Valley's bad at taking people with a perfectly reasonable, self-fulfilling dream, to build a company to better their lifestyle and all the rest of it, and then saying, well, this isn't a good enough idea because it's never going to have $1 billion exit. When actually it's a perfectly good idea, and it could be perfectly good for them, to go ahead and as a first business or second business, build the experience and so forth. So yeah, I think we're all focused for obvious reasons on the $1 billion exits, but there's a ton of great businesses.
Well, that term lifestyle business, it just annoys the hell out of me. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're building a lifestyle business? I think of it as someone wants to build a business to employ 5 people to feed their family and change, their country or their ecosystem. Why is that lifestyle? I don't know.
Well, but I think it's more just sort of a categorization of what are your ambitions. I don't view it as a derogatory term. I view it as, even if you look in the United States, the backbone of entrepreneurship in the United States outside of the tech sector is the small family-owned business, right? Of course. And that's an enormous part of our economy. I think it's when people sort of look down on it that's the problem.
I just think it's a pretty way of saying not VC fundable.
You could almost say Rocket Space is a lifestyle business in the sense of, it's a service business, so it's it needs to become a really big business before it's ever going to have $1 billion exit. It's not like a product business. But I take my hat off to any entrepreneur, whether it's starting a coffee shop out of a rickshaw or on the corner of Market Street or whatever. They're, you know, it's all, for me, it's all about, you know, creating a job rather than taking a job. And I think that's, you know, it's a pretty scary move. You know, it's a pretty bold move.
Yeah. And so, Chris, talk about a little bit of exactly like your efforts and how does the program work, and you know all the stuff that you guys do here. Again, I've been involved with a couple of events, but
Sure.
What's really the infrastructure behind it?
So what we do is we have sort of a multi-step approach to helping people make that jump from their local to their global market. It typically begins with doing work with them in their home country. It's much easier for me to fly somewhere and engage with 20 entrepreneurs in Prague or 20 entrepreneurs in whatever the city happens to be than to get 20 entrepreneurs to come here for 3 days, right? It's a much easier thing. It's lower risk, it's lower investment. And we work with them to begin that sort of journey because a lot of it is psychological. I mean, half of the battle is getting them to believe that they can do it, right?
Yeah.
And then we work through a process with them of helping them understand how they need to modify their business, how do they need to change their business model to be able to address this market or other markets, right? It's not just coming from, you know, Algeria to the United States, Czech Republic to the United States. It's to say, I'm going to go to a new market. I need to go back and revalidate my business model. I need to understand what's new, what's different, what's changed. We help them with that, and then the last step for us is helping them begin the process of getting sort of sales traction, being able to get those first customers. And we really value our relationship with Rocket Space because when we're able to bring companies here to the Valley later in their journey, you know, Duncan, I'm sure, has talked about the value of sort of people sharing, getting everybody together in the same place and those kinds of things. And it's a fascinating experience for them because they tend to, in their home country, not have a community to be part of. And they get that sense of community here. They interact with other entrepreneurs. It's interesting, several of the entrepreneurs we brought through made alliances with companies here in Rocket Space and are doing business, are doing business together. And that sort of extends this community out into the world, right? And you know what is here at Rocket Space is fantastic, and almost all of the entrepreneurs also go home and start demanding in their local environment for things such as Rocket Space to exist. And so Duncan may not know it, but he's not just a change agent here in Silicon Valley, but he's becoming a change agent in a lot of different, you know, a lot of different places, because the model here works and people see the sense of community here, and then they go back home and say, okay, how can I create not just an ecosystem, but how can I create that community that is going to surround and lift up all of the entrepreneurs? And it's really exciting to, you know, it's really exciting to see.
And so, what's the model for you guys as far as, do you take equity? Is it, do companies pay? Do you sponsor them? Like, how does that work?
So our typical model is that we work with a local government. There is some sponsoring agency or university, some entity that provides funding support to the entrepreneurs.
Yep.
We do charge a fee for our services, but it's in the big picture not a substantial, it's not a substantial fee. But we also work with companies that want to address the market, and there isn't a program for them to join. We have a mechanism by which they can come to us directly, and we'll work with them as they go. Today we take no equity. We don't have any plans to do so in the future, because our belief is that we want to be with you for the journey, and it's not about, okay, this is a get-rich-quick scheme for the leadership of the USMAC. It's about being able to grow our business and grow your business. And that's not to say a couple times some of the founders have given us equity, just saying, wow, we really liked what you were doing here.
Because you are an advisor in a sense.
In some ways we are sort of their advisory board. Yeah. But that's nice when it happens, but it's not, if you want to come join us, you got to give up a piece of your company just to walk in the door. And part of that is we're all entrepreneurs ourselves. We all have an entrepreneurial background, and we would, quite frankly, really get kind of upset if to join the program was like, well, I wouldn't want to do that. Well, why would I ask another entrepreneur to?
Interesting. And so how many companies have you worked with?
So in the past 2 years, it's almost 300 companies, probably from 25 different countries.
That's awesome.
We're running very large multi-year programs like for the government of Ireland. We're running a 4-year program where we will work with perhaps 200 entrepreneurs from Ireland over that 4 years.
That's awesome.
And we're always looking for a chance to expand our footprint. And the work we did in Algeria was our first in North Africa, and was a great experience, and we're looking to do more.
Yeah, and again, I judged the companies. Surprisingly, the products were great. I mean, they do need a little pitch training, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, the guy with the gas sensor, like,
Yeah.
expert, patents, awards, like really cool stuff. I was really impressed.
Well, I can't sit there and say every time it works out like this, right? But because it does depend on the drive of the entrepreneur and the value of what they have created.
Mm-hmm.
But out of the 5 companies from Algeria that we brought over, 2 have deals.
Wow.
And we were just completely stunned because on the first day
awesome.
they walked in the door, they didn't know what a pitch was.
No,
I mean, it was not, they were just sort of like, well, I can tell you about what my product does.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's nice, but that's not what that's
Yeah.
not going to get you where you need to be. So
That's awesome. Well, so again, we're trying to put together a program for the whole Middle East, and the idea is we're doing an 8-city tour. We're going to pick one company from each city to bring here, and we're setting up a program. We've got about 100 mentors committed.
Yep.
And a demo day. So again, we're thinking of doing a stop in Algeria as well. So that would. We can do some collaboration. I know we've talked about Doha and
Sure.
and some of in Istanbul, but I would love to figure out ways to collaborate more. And I really like what you guys are doing, and same with you, Duncan.
Thank you.
As you're launching new cities, again, my whole idea, my vision, is kind of a tie for the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so working on an angel group, and I toyed with the idea of a fund as well, but I realized that
It's funny. I was in London, and there's so much Middle Eastern money in London.
Of course.
And I think, we talk in tech about product market fit, and I was talking at a thing in London, and they were saying, there's so much money sitting in London but not being invested in startups. And I said, someone just needs to create a better product.
Yeah.
We need to create a product that makes it really easy for people, asset allocation, to go across to startups. And as soon as we do that, I think it'll be fantastic, and it'll be good for the Middle East. They have a ton of wealth there, but at the moment it's not being invested in their entrepreneur community, and we need to create a product for that.
All the ingredients are there. Again, talent pool is there.
Yeah.
Market. I mean, 400
Yeah.
people, that 1 million people that are just now, using the internet. More videos are watched on YouTube in Saudi Arabia than anywhere else on the planet. Highest ARPU on the planet. And again, like Twitter usage, Facebook, LinkedIn, just opened an office. I mean, a lot of people are looking at the region as a high growth potential market, and yet the investors are brick and mortar or kind of old school. And then now I think what's happening is that they have a guy in London at UBS,
Yep.
and he's like, okay, take a percent, and it's play money.
Yeah.
And so instead of buying a sailboat, he's investing in a startup. The problem is that money is slow, has strings attached, it's not smart, and you're getting a call like, asking inherently not dumb questions, but like, how come you haven't made revenue, or you don't understand what this really means. So that's what we're trying to kind of facilitate more of by having these kinds of discussions on how do you build an ecosystem,
Sure.
how do you spread this ecosystem to other places, and how do you create a consistent flow of a mechanism that supports it from the bottom up all the way from
Top down as well.
Exactly, top down. So I want to thank you both for your time. Again, look forward
Thank you
to
for having us.
collaborating
Thank
with you
you.
guys again. And Duncan, good luck with the new cities. And
I look forward to it. This has been a unique experience, I have to say. The first cross-legged interview I think I've ever done. But,
I've heard that a couple times now. I hope you enjoyed it. And again,
It's great.
This is important for us because it what I realized was I have, let's call it 2,000 or 3,000 relationships here that I've built over the last few years, and I don't pretend to be an expert at anything, but I have a lot of relationships, and I ask myself, how do I share that knowledge,
Leverage,
and those relationships, and how do I democratize this content or these experiences, and
Yeah.
this was the answer. So,
Great idea. I
anyway,
love it.
Duncan,
Great
thank
stuff.
you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so
Chris,
much.
great to see you again. Good
to see you.
See you soon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Peace.